Greg and Karen supporting local bookstores, audiobooks, and more. Join the world of stories. As always, thank you for listening.
Hello, and welcome to the Libro.fm podcast, where we talk to authors, narrators, booksellers, and more. I'm Karen.
And I'm Craig. On today's episode, we sat down with two different people, which is a little bit out of the ordinary for us, but very fun. We sat down with Huda Fahmy, who wrote Huda F Huda F Cares, and the newest, Huda F Wants to Know, coming out soon in 2025, which is very exciting. Absolutely loved her book that I read right before the interview, and then had to ask a million questions about it. And then we also sat down with Anna Hersh, one of the owners of the Wild Rumpus Bookstore.
This episode is so fun because we talk a lot about literature for young people. We talk about audiobooks, of course, their past experiences that led them to want to work in literature for young people. And they're both so fun and engaging. So you are in for a real treat.
Yes. I am dying to go to Minneapolis now. I want to go to this bookstore. As you'll learn in the episode, it's full of animals. And I'm not talking like a shop cat. I'm talking like a chinchilla and like a parrot. Like it is. I need to get here ASAP.
Someone should write a children's book about this bookstore.
I think Anna should do it, honestly.
I vote for that, yes.
Yes.
All right.
Well, Anna, if you're listening, we will be awaiting an arc.
Yes.
Well, without further ado, I will play a clip from Huda's book and we will roll the interview.
My name is Huda F, and I just finished my freshman year of high school. Freedom! You know what that means.
It's summer vacation, baby.
That's right, summer vacation. But while all my friends are going on awesome trips, have fun in Lebanon, Nebs. Don't forget about me.
Enjoy your summer.
Definitely, yep. Gonna enjoy the heck out of it. Got so much to... And she's gone. All I've got to look forward to is AP work and an appointment with the optometrist. Is it sad that I've kind of been looking forward to this appointment for weeks? Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay, now open wide. Just like that. You're going to feel a puff of air.
This is probably going to be the highlight of my summer.
You've done this before?
Only every year since I was 3. But unlike every year since I was 3, today I'm getting examined for contacts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm finally going to look normal.
Really? The glasses. That's the part of your wardrobe that's keeping you from looking normal?
Today we are here with Huda Fahmy, the creator of webcomic Yes, I'm Hot in This, and author, illustrator of 2 graphic novels and another one on the way, which I got a little sneak peek of a minute ago. Super exciting. Thank you so much for making time for us today. For people who may not be familiar with you, can you give us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to the world of books?
Thank you so much for having me. I am a huge fan of Libro, so I was so stoked to get this invitation. I am an author and an illustrator. I started out by illustrating a webcomic that is called Yes, I'm Hot in This, and I still illustrate and post, so you can find me wherever, all social media handles. Yes, I'm hot in this. I've always wanted to be a writer. When I was 5 years old, my parents were like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, I want to be a writer. And they're like, that's not how you say doctor. And I was like, oh, no. So they're like, you're going to have to put that on the back burner, or like, you have to be really, really good if you want to be a writer. So that kind of shattered my dreams because, you never know what you can say to a little kid that'll like stick with them. And I thought, oh my God, they think I'm not good. And I'll never be good, and I'll never be good enough. So I ended up majoring in English and teaching English because I thought that was like the closest that I'll ever get to like writing my own stories, teaching other kids how to write and how to tell their own stories. But that like dream of being a writer never went away. But it was always like, I would get like this writer's block where I would start a story and then never be able to finish it because I was never going to be good enough. And then I started drawing comics, which felt a little easier because I was restricting myself to like 4 to 6 panels. I could tell the joke in 4 to 6 panels. So it felt like really like something that I could do. And I caught the eye of my agent, Kathleen Ortiz, who is wonderful. And she kind of was the one who encouraged me to start writing for YA. And she's like, "Would you be interested in doing a graphic novel?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I would." And really, with her encouragement, my mother and my sister and my family, and they're my biggest fans, and they were kind of like, "You can do this." And so I think the biggest block for me was like, just you don't have to be perfect, and there are people who help you write and finish your story along the way, and um and that's kind of how it just came to be, and I've been loving it, and seeing this dream kind of manifest has been amazing, and I wish I could go back to 5-year-old Huda and be like, "You can do it."
Totally. Thank you for sharing that because I'm really obsessed with people's like origin story or superhero origin. And, you mentioned that you taught English, I think in middle school and high
Yeah.
school, I believe I read. And I was just curious, like what your takeaways from that experience looked like in terms of, the work that you create today, kind of what influence did it have on what you're making?
I think the biggest thing, and I kind of already mentioned it, but it was really just trying to be that voice for these kids, the one that would tell them that you can do this, that your stories are important, that whatever you have to say in whatever medium you want to say it should be heard, deserves to be heard. And hey, if I can help you like figure out how to tell it, let me be the one to help you. So it's like while I was struggling with that, I was really hoping to help them and kind of help them figure this out and be that voice and of encouragement and motivation. And it really helps also kind of figure out, like, for myself to if I wanted to go back and, like, remember the voice of what young readers like, just go back to what it was like to teach and be around these kids, and they're so much smarter than we really give them credit for, and they're so much funnier than we give them credit for, and so it was, motivational for me as well to do that.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of opportunity to like interact with the young readers who are enjoying your work? I'm just so curious, like what feedback you've heard from them because this is who this work is for.
Yeah, I know. I get to do a lot of author visits, and I go to schools and libraries and bookstores, and I get a lot of mail and fan art and fan mail and kids. So I just had a young girl email me, 10 years old, telling me how she gets her name mispronounced too, and how she'll ask me for advice, and getting to engage with them and talk to them and encourage them that way. It's I don't even believe this is my life. Like, it's so much fun. I love it. I love talking to readers. That's probably my favorite part about doing all this is talking to readers and hearing what they have to say and how they feel about it.
We have like the same Karen and I are always saying like, I can't believe this is our job, but like in reverse,
Right.
getting to talk to the authors
Getting to
as
talk to
readers,
you.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Your web series, Yes, I'm Hot in This, does a great job of blending humor while addressing some pretty serious issues. Like I've seen you post about obviously like growing up as a Muslim in America, but also like politics and things that are going on right now. How do you balance keeping it kind of lighthearted and funny, what you're like sort of known for, like you starting those little 6 panels that were like like jokes? You still have that same humor in your writing. How do you address that balance of serious topics with humor?
Um, I know people can relate to this. It really is like a defense mechanism for me. The coping through humor has always been just the way that I've dealt with really hard to deal with issues. I don't know how I've always been drawn to humor, and I've always been drawn to things that make me think about it, but through like by laughing. And if you want people to like just see where your point of view, the easiest way to get people on your side is to make them laugh. And that's like the easiest way, the fastest way to make somebody see what you're experiencing, what you're going through, is to kind of break down that barrier. There's because we always come across like a wall when we're talking to people. There's always just that thing that we do. Just it's really hard to like when you're first meeting somebody, and as soon as they make you laugh, a little piece of that wall comes down, a little piece of it crumbles, and you feel like you can kind of relate to them, and you feel almost like you owe like, thank you for making me laugh today. You've really made me smile, and that means that we can kind of like be friends a little bit. So in that same vein, like when I make people laugh with the comics, they kind of break down that little barrier, that little wall of vulnerability, and they kind of can connect and relate. I don't know how it happens. I'm glad it does. I really thought when I first created the comic series that I was doing something really niche for specifically girls and women who wear hijab. And then like hearing from all these people who really relate to just feeling like they're the outsider, I realized that this is like a really universal concept and feeling. And we are unique in our own way, but in our uniqueness, we kind of really do connect. So I loved that, and it just happened to be through humor that we can connect.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned the word vulnerability and um the theme of vulnerability and also how that fits in with a journey of confidence is something that I really love the most about your work. Kind of the confidence to be yourself, to the only phrase I can think of is like get knocked down and get back up again. And I can't believe I'm like quoting that song right now. But
The first Chumbawamba reference on
yep.
the podcast. Glad you could be here for
We're in it now. I just wanted to know a little bit more about what that's looked like on your own journey, from like, you know, hearing these things as a kid, like this isn't a path that you're being encouraged to go down as a writer and creator, to doing the thing, to living this life that you're like, I'm so excited it's mine. Like, how have you maintained your confidence and taking care of yourself through the challenges?
It's funny because even though it was my parents who kind of knocked me down from from that, and were like, don't, you know, let's find something else for you to do. They really are the ones that fostered that confidence. My mother specifically was always like, you need to be proud of who you are. We have nothing to be ashamed of. We have nothing to hide. Go out there and live your life and do what you need to do. And there's nothing that should stop us from living the way we want to live. And so she really was to me when I see her interacting and I see her just living her life as an example for my own. She herself is full of confidence. And I don't know how much of that was like, now that I'm a mother, I don't know how much of that was really just like her really putting on this mask because she's like, I have to be the best person in front of my kids so that they know. And because that's what I have to do. I'm like terrified of, really as chatty as I am, I'm really an introvert and I'm terrified of interacting with people. And it's like, I have to really put this mask on to make sure that my kids see me as this person who is confident. And so I took that from my mom and I watched her, and she experienced a lot of people really going after her in public. And she would just literally just like smile and wave at these horrible things that people would shout at her. And at the time I just was like, let's go, mom, let's get out of here. Like, we don't want, and she'd be like, no, I could stand right here in this line. Why should I move? Why should I leave? And so I took that, you know, to aspire to that. So it's something I really wanted to be like. And I think I still struggle with it. And I think that's normal. It's a journey. Like there's no closure like we have in the movies, or not closure specifically, but there's no like, oh, it's been resolved. It's something that we experience and go through and struggle with daily. And one of the ways that I do that is just through my mother's example and my sister's examples. And then, yeah, writing them all down. And well, this is what I should have said if I had a little more confidence today. Like that's my my elevator wit in the comics.
Do you have any advice for folks who are really interested in doing what you do and are maybe they haven't found their confidence yet?
Yeah, and I think I always tell readers or future illustrators or whoever asks this question, the biggest thing that was in my way is perfection, thinking I had to be perfect. I'm very type A. I'm very much like, I got to be perfect in everything that I do. And a lot of times that's what stops us from trying and moving forward is like, oh no, I can't make a mistake. Or, oh no, I need the highest quality equipment to write or draw or do what I have to do. And once I took that kind of like, okay, let's just start. Let me just start. And I started drawing us with stick figures. If you go all the way down to my Instagram, you'd find that the art is, in my opinion, I mean, it's my art and it's from my level to where I am now, it was terrible. It was stick figures. It was circles and lines. I just didn't even know what on earth I was doing. I just knew that I had a story I wanted to tell. And maybe it wasn't as tight and as clean as it could have been. And I've learned so much as I've gotten, as I've grown, but I just started. I didn't have the best. I didn't even have like, I think I used an old timey scanner. For the young folks listening, a scanner is a machine. Like I would draw on a piece of paper. They were made from trees. I made my, and I was like scanning it uploading it through a scanner, uploading it into my computer, from my computer, emailing it. Like I literally like was like, this is the slowest process. And then I eventually was just like figured out how to streamline and my husband was like, if you're going to commit to this, show yourself that you can do this for a few days or a week or whatever. And then let's invest. And so once we were like, okay, we're doing this. And we started to, and I started watching like YouTube tutorials on how to get better at drawing, how to use a certain software, how to use like Procreate or iPad or my iPad for Procreate, or like it was Adobe that I started with, and Wacom tablet. and so don't let perfection or the idea of perfection get in the way. I guess in conclusion, like that would be my biggest that was the biggest obstacle for me to overcome, and that's the best advice I could give is don't worry about perfection. Start, and also the biggest the after perfection is that confidence to share your work with other people, because you've got these kids who are like blow my mind, amazing artists and amazing storytellers, and they'll show me their work and I'll be like, oh my god, like do share this, like this is amazing. And you're never too young to also query an agent. Like that's another thing. Like you have your work, Google is there. Look up how to query an agent. That's how I did it. I and you just figure it out, and it's really just getting past the point of like I have to be perfect, and then finding that confidence to be able to share your work with other people. I don't know if your mic is going to pick up, but like my call to prayer just went off. So let me go close it really quick.
Sure.
While you do that, I'll give you a tangent. I have an old watch somewhere in a box that I can't locate that has an alarm set on it that goes off at 12:05, like midnight 12:05.
Yeah.
And I can't find it. And so it just goes off at 12:05 every day. And that's my life now.
I have a stopwatch that goes off at 11:10, and I cannot figure out how we even set an alarm on a stopwatch.
I have a Timex that beeps once an hour and I can't turn it off. I know where it is. I just cannot figure out how to turn it off. It literally goes beep on the hour, every hour, 24 hours a day. I've just shoved it in a drawer and I can lightly hear it. I think we figured out there's a hole in the market for like easy to use watches.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
No, you're not. You're good. Okay. Where were we?
You're giving a really inspirational speech, and then I was about to say, God, I feel so inspired right now.
Okay, let's take it from the top.
You just mentioned drawing a whole ton, which is great because my next question is about your graphic novels. And I saw that they are now full cast audiobooks. And I'm curious, the books were so successful and they're such a visual medium, right? Being a graphic novel, there's illustrations on every single page. How did you envision translating that type of such visual work into the audio format?
Iris, who was the producer, and Maureen, who is the director, I give them 100% the credit for that. I just was super excited to be involved. Like the fact that they even asked me, that's been another dream of mine. It's like, be a voice on The Simpsons. And I was like, oh, please God, let it still be on air when I get old enough or whatever. And it's still on air, but I'm never going to be on there. I don't know. But it's like, who knows? Maybe I will. But it's been a dream of mine to voice a character. So for me, just voicing my own character and her like little shoulder conscience is a dream. That was amazing. I could not wait to do that. And when I listened to the full cast, and also the cast was amazing. When I listened to the full cast and the whole production, they perfectly captured, like I didn't even know what I had in my head. I was just like, oh, I hope it's good. And it was like beyond what I even imagined. Like the sound effects that they had, the pacing, the way that they had like just told the story in a way, and they would kind of go through. They gave me the script, and it would overlay it was overlaid on top of my graphic novel, and they would be like, okay, this might be too hard to translate into audio, so we're just gonna like, is it okay if we cut this scene out? We just don't know how we would do it. And we would kind of talk it out and figure out ways to incorporate a joke if I really wanted it in there that they might have cut. And we would just go back and forth, and we did that. And again, they did an amazing job editing, and it was such a team effort. I didn't know what to expect coming out, except that I had also heard Pedro Martin's Mexikid, which they had also produced, which I was like, oh, this is so good. If mine is even like a fraction of how good this is, I'll be excited. And it blew me away. It's so good. I don't know if that answers the question, but that was kind of like
it more than answers the question. I've never seen someone so excited to talk about an audiobook. It was like glowing off of you how stoked you are.
I love audiobooks so much. And I love that they were able to do this for graphic novels.
You kind of touched on it, but my follow-up was going to be like, what was it like to narrate like yourself? I know it's kind of like a fictional memoir, but like it's you. So like, what was that like to narrate a younger you as your age now?
I grew up, like I learned English from reading comics like Garfield and The Far Side and Calvin and Hobbes and Bones, all that. And I grew up like watching cartoons. Like that's how I learned to speak. And so in my heart, I feel like I have such a soft spot for animation and voice actors and just being able to, display emotion through just voice alone. And So when I got to voice and narrate my character, I felt like, oh, like this is the chance that I get to give back to this medium that gave me so much. And it was just such a fun experience to sit in the studio. Again, like, what is my life? It was so fun. It was so
Next up,
fun.
The Simpsons.
I know, right? I
Yeah.
wish. If you're listening, Matt Groening.
Sorry, Kay, one last thing before we move on
Yeah.
to your last question. But we do this lightning round at the end of each episode where we ask sillier questions. And one of the ones I wrote but then got rid of was, I read somewhere that you learned English from like Sunday comics.
Oh,
And I was going to ask what your favorite comic was of all time, but I scrapped it. But given that you brought it up now, I'm curious.
oh, Miss Calvin and Hobbes, 100%. Like I own it in multiple volumes, and there's that's one of my. I used to write. I majored in English, and I would write essays on Calvin and Hobbes, on Bill
Wow.
Watterson, and just analyzing how he does what he does, and in his life, and the fact that he decided to step away from it all, and how I thought that was perfect, and as much as I wish I could have seen a cartoon, I totally understand why he didn't want that. And I'm like, I don't know. He's done so much, and I don't know if he knows it even, but he's done so much for so many illustrators and webcomic artists who would also probably say, like, I've talked to so many, and a lot of ours is Bill Watterson. Close second is Gary Larson from The Far Side. Just, I feel like his sense of humor, the ability to capture a joke in one panel is genius. He's so smart. He's so good.
Well, speaking of things that you love, we have a selfish question, and we were wondering if you've like read and enjoyed anything recent, or if you have like a favorite book to recommend that you could share with us and our listeners.
Okay, I'll tell. Okay, a book that I read last year or the year when it came out is called As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, and it is. I know my stuff is happy. It is a very sad story. It is a very trigger warning. There's a lot of it's a big triggering book, but that's one of my top. It's been just for the last. It's held that number one title for me for the last couple of years. That it's been just so emotional and good. But it is like a war story, so it's a trigger. If anybody, I don't. I'm trying to think. I can't. I literally all I can think about the books that I'm reading and that I've read already, and I'm can't even pan to the giant pile next to me that I'm looking at. But
You should just recommend your upcoming one.
oh,
You might want to mention it.
my upcoming book is Huda F Wants to Know. My upcoming book, Huda F Wants to Know. Sorry.
Top recommendation, everyone.
Thank you. So, have you guys read Huda F Wants to Know? Of course you haven't. It comes out April 1st. April Fool's Day. I don't know why they did that, but yeah, it comes out April 1st, and it's really great, and I'm excited for everyone to read it. And it's not a spoiler because it's in the summary of what the book is about, but it is a divorce story. So yes, Huda loves her family, and then her family gets broken. It's still funny though.
Sounds hilarious.
Right.
I hate like fast forwarding so far in the future, but I'm like, I can't wait for April now.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, before we let you go, as Craig mentioned, we love to do a slightly ridiculous lightning round with people that we interview. And so we have two kind of like sillier questions for you. And the first one I wanted to ask you. So I live in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I saw that you are from Dearborn, Michigan originally. So like right around the corner.
Yes,
as
I
far
taught
as
in Ann
Michigan
Arbor.
goes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All
That's where I taught my first teaching gig. Yes.
We are
Very cool.
from the same place. I wondered if you have like a favorite Michigan memory or like a Michigan hidden gem that you love the most.
There is a place where you can go kayaking, and it's like relatively affordable. It's pretty like $10 for an hour. Gallup Park. Do you know where Gallup Park is? It's like kind of cool. No, it's in Ann Arbor. It's like we used to go to Ann Arbor. It's right next to you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm so excited. I'm writing this down.
You can rent a canoe, or you can rent a kayak, or you can rent a tube, and just go down the river. What's that river down there? That Gallup River. Argo to Gallup River. And it's so much fun. We'll be in our kayaks, and we'll start like humming the Lord of the Rings. When you're like going, you know what I'm talking. No, have I nerded myself
I'm with
out?
you. I'm with you totally.
Come on. You need to
I've
watch
seen that
it.
like once. I know that you're a big fan of it.
Oh,
I've seen this around the internet, but I was hoping it wouldn't come up.
Oh God. Hey, what is it?
No, keep going.
And you're like kayaking as you're going on this river, and you're like by yourself, and then you have your own soundtrack, and it's The Lord of the Rings, and you pretend you're with like Gandalf somewhere.
Yeah, the adventure can begin at any moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Frodo, and you're just like
when I'm not at work next week, it's because I'm tubing down the Gallop River. So I'm
With
just
Gandalf.
with Gandalf.
Yes.
No, it's fun. So that's probably like I don't know if it's hidden, but we would go there a lot. And it was
It seems pretty hidden. Kay never even heard of it.
Yeah, I didn't know.
That's a hidden
I'm
gem
not
if I
very
ever heard one.
knowledgeable, but I can't wait.
It's one of my, especially in the fall when the trees are changing color. It's one of my favorite things to do.
You just sang for us, so the next lightning round question is perfect. I love that in your book you said that your parents basically birthed a girl band. And I was curious, if you and your sisters actually had a band, what genre would it be and what instrument would you play?
Oh my God. You know, we don't actually listen to music. That's part of our if you read in the Huda F Cares, we don't actually listen to music. I think all we know are like Disney pop songs. So that's probably what our band would be, is just playing Disney covers or singing a cappella.
Perfect.
And,
I've heard your a cappella skills. They're pretty standout.
Yeah,
so this band is hitting the charts.
I'm going to throw in a last lightning round question. Will you be our friend? You're so amazing.
Oh man, I'd love
so
to.
Fun.
I think I've embarrassed myself enough that I think we've solidified Team Craig, Kay, and Huda. Woo!
What would you have done if she said no?
I would have cried and I would have cried and left.
Yes, this call is over. Well, on that note, now that we're all friends, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much for your time. As you can see, like we said, this 15-minute interview is going on 36 minutes. So we've stuck to the script of Kay and Craig interviews. Thank you so much for your time.
This was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, we will be cheering you on, and we'll reach out to you in April too, on April Fool's Day, to congratulate you then too.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our awesome interview with Huda. But as we mentioned, you've got a second delight in store for you today. Next up, we're going to roll our interview with Anna Hersh from the Wild Rumpus Bookstore in Minneapolis. Hello, everyone. Today we are here with Anna Hersh, who, according to their bio, is the bookstore owner and the animal coordinator at Wild Rumpus Bookstore in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thanks so much for joining us today, Anna.
Thank you. I'm excited.
For our listeners, we would love if you could share a little bit more about who you are and all of the things that you're up to in the world of books.
Yeah, I am one of the new co-owners of Wild Rumpus, which is a primarily children's bookstore in Minneapolis. We do carry books for adults as well. We call it our tall section, but mostly books for YA readers and younger. And our bookstore is kind of unique because we have a whole bunch of animals in the store. So that is really special for kids, and we're kind of a destination because everybody wants to come see the animals, but also pick out some books as well.
I love that. Okay, so for our listeners, before we started recording, Anna told us what the animals are. Do you mind sharing the list again?
Yeah, we have 2 cats, 2 chinchillas, a cockatiel, a dove, a crested gecko, and about 8 fish in our bathroom.
So amazing. And is that related to the name of the bookstore? Like I'm thinking of like a wild rumpus of animals.
Yeah. So the bookstore name comes from where the wild things are when they say, let the wild rumpus begin. And then the kind of theme of the bookstore was created from the book, The Salamander Room, where a boy finds a little salamander and brings it inside, and like slowly through the book, his room becomes more outdoors. So when you first come in our front door, it's, kind of white walls and bookshelves. But as you go towards the back, our ceiling actually cracks open, and there's a upside down canoe shell and like birds across the ceiling and more plants as you go backwards. And that's where a bunch of our animals are too. So it's a very special place.
That sounds magical. I am coming to Minneapolis as soon as possible.
Yeah. Come visit.
So my first big question for you, we are obviously here at the beginning of September as we're talking, which means it is back to school time. And given that you are primarily a children's bookstore, I was curious how things change at the bookstore during this season and how you all prepare, get through it. What does that look like?
Um, so we have had a back to school book display up for probably about a month, because people start asking about that, especially as younger kids are going to their first year of school or that sort of thing. So that has been up forever, and all sorts of titles about, like, your first time at kindergarten or what it's like being kind of away from home. The once kids do go back to school, we see a little bit of like a nice kind of quiet lull in the store. Summer is very busy for us. Like I said, we're kind of a destination, so we do get a lot of people from out of town. A lot of people who are just in visiting their family who lives locally, and everybody wants to bring, out of town friends here. So it's been pretty busy, and now kids are officially back to school, and it is just a little bit of a moment to catch our breath before holiday season starts.
I actually had a question about back to school and sort of, I feel like a lot of books that get assigned have been the same books for a long time. Like I have a school age child, and they get assigned books that I got assigned in high school, books like To Kill a Mockingbird or Mice and Men. And with so much more diversity in publishing now, what changes have you noticed in reading list, or like what books people are asking for in terms of school reading?
So definitely still a lot of those are happening. And especially a lot of, I would say, like, a lot of grandparents still want to come in and be like, oh, I want to buy them, I don't know, Where the Red Fern Grows, because it's a classic. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, if you want to traumatize your child forever, go right ahead. But I think, like, we're really fortunate here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, where the teachers do really like to focus on kind of trying some different things and different books and authors. And we have so many local authors here that they really like doing a lot of local authors. There's also I think it's the Maud Hart Lovelace Book Awards. That's kind of a more localized thing. And as soon as that list is out, we sell tons and tons of those. And it's mostly like middle school books, kind of like 8 to 12-ish years old. And teachers always want to stock the winners of those. So I don't know if it's so much like assigned reading in the class, but it is still, they really want to get their libraries filled with some award winners that are maybe not award winners from like 50 years ago.
So in talking about the curriculum and the teachers, I was curious, do they work with you all? Does your staff help with any of that curation? I mean, you all are the best resource I can imagine for, what's out there and popular. And so I'm just curious what that relationship looked like.
We do work with a lot of teachers and a lot of like school media specialists. It's really great when they want to order through us, because obviously supporting us is awesome, and we'll always take that. And a lot of times they come with their own lists, like they've already kind of done some research, and then they'll kind of give us the list, and then we say, yes, we can get this, no, we can't get that. We do have a discount for educators all the time, whether it's for their school or themselves or a gift. So it's kind of nice for the school to be able to work through us and get that discount. But I would say, like, a lot of teachers really kind of, or at least the media specialists really kind of have an idea of what they're looking for. And it's more on us to fill that. So every now and then we might get questions. We do have some teachers who kind of have a budget, and they come into the store and are like, okay, what are some really great new picture books? And we'll kind of pull a pile, and they'll look at them and decide what they want to buy. But for pretty big, like, library orders, they kind of have a game plan, and we just kind of go from there.
Awesome. And I was wondering, so you mentioned the Lovelace Awards. I think that's what you said they were
Yeah,
called?
the Mod Heart Lovelace Awards. Oh gosh, and I want to say they happen in the spring. I honestly, time is so confusing, and until those orders start coming in, I don't I don't know when it's happening. But it's something that I think like the kids and teachers kind of vote on as well. But the kids come in with the whole list, and they want to get every single book on that list. And sometimes it's a book that we hadn't even stocked, like we didn't even think was going to be anything crazy, and then it'll kind of win an award, and suddenly we're like, oh man, we missed the boat on that one. But it's usually things that we did grab. Our frontlist buyer, which is things that are not published yet, does a really good job of curating books for the store. So a lot of times we have those, but then as soon as the winners are announced for the Mod Heart Lovelace, or also even just the normal ALA awards, like the Newbery and Caldecott, I mean, you never have stocked enough of those ahead of time because you don't know what those are. And then they're announced and suddenly everybody's trying to get them. So it's always a little bit of a chaotic time when book awards are released. But I don't know. It's cool because that one is the Mod Heart Lovelace is a little more localized. And they, like I said, they do a really good job of having some authors that you might not have really heard of. It's not always just like the same famous authors who are churning out books all the time.
Yep.
So that one's really kind of cool once we see that come in and who the winners are and who the nominees are and all that.
I love that. Oh my gosh. If I was a little kid, I would be the one coming in with the list like these, please.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's almost like any of these book awards, especially the ALA ones with Newbery and Caldecott and the, I think the Prince Award is on there. It's almost like book Oscars. Like everybody's very excited about like, oh, what did you think was going to be the Newbery this year, and what did you think of the honorees? So it's it's a little chaotic when it's happening, but it is fun to kind of see what won.
And instead of a little statuette, you get a little gold sticker that helps you sell books.
Exactly, a little gold sticker.
Yeah.
And then we usually once the awards have been given, we usually print off something to stick inside the book, and we'll do like a table display of those books so that people coming in can kind of see what's been out there and what won and that sort of thing. So
Oh, that's so cool. That answered my I was going to ask you a follow-up question about resources for people who are looking to expand their libraries and their knowledge of what's out there. So those are amazing recommendations.
Yeah. Any of the award winners are always really good. I mean, honestly, going to a local indie bookstore and asking people, that's the whole point of indie bookstores, is that we're here to, we're reading, we're on the ground, we're in the community, we're listening to what you liked and actually giving you a normal response instead of a weird algorithm. So, if anybody wants to expand, go find your local indie and say, hey, help me pick out some cool new books for my 10-year-old. And they'll probably be like, oh yes, this is the best question I've gotten all day.
Best part of my job.
Yeah. Yeah. We love giving recommendations. That's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I had a quick follow-up kind of logistical question just because I'm curious. You mentioned oh no, we missed the boat on that one once something gets announced and you didn't order enough.
Yeah.
Is there a mad dash and you just can't get the books in because they only printed X amount? And yeah.
Fully, completely, yes. Especially the Newbery and Caldecott. They are, I mean, honestly, so the award ceremony happens pretty early in the morning, and I usually watch part of it, and I'm jotting down titles and authors. And then I can't order until I get into the store to order. So it is a very oh no, the warehouse only has this many and the publisher only has this many, and every bookstore and every librarian is trying to get those all of a sudden. So it sometimes by the time you get your order in, they are already back ordered, and you just have to wait until they can arrive
and deal with everyone coming in being do you have X book? And you're like, no.
Yes. Yeah. So so often. So I mean, it's kind of the same thing for the consumer too. They will call and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's already reprinting. We can't get more.
Yeah.
We've already sold out of ours.
Did you know
And
you could listen to the audiobook right
yeah,
now, though?
right. And honestly, we have said that about things like things that are reprinting and are going to be hard for us to get for a while. We very much say like, hey, you know what you could get immediately? The audiobook.
Yep.
So that's yes, we have definitely given that recommendation.
So talking about the store a little bit more outside of the logistical stalking issues, you guys do a ton of story time, story hours, and all of that. I saw all sorts of really creative ones too. I was looking at, I think, your Instagram or something, and there's like pajama story time and creative story time. So,
Yes.
one, tell us about your story times, and then two, I'm really curious how you go about selecting the books for your story time.
So we have a really great events lead, who is just just the perfect person for that job. Like, is outgoing, is really organized, is really good at making the authors that we have come in feel, special and loved. So we do have story times that are like author release ones. A lot of times it'll be a picture book or something. And those, are just, we work with the author's publicist and that sort of thing. But our personal non-author events, every Tuesday at 10:30, we have a story time. We say it's like geared towards 5 and younger, but anyone who wants to be read to can come. And they'll read a couple stories and they'll sing some songs. And it is hugely popular. Like, if you want to be close where you can see, you should get here before 10:30. And we also don't have a very big space for that. Our store is really small, so
It's too full of animals.
it can get a little crazy. But our events person and another one of our staff, they are the ones who kind of lead the weekly story time, and they just pick what they want to pick. Things that would be fun to read aloud to kids. A lot of times things that they can do fun voices with. And then for the pajama story time, that's something we have been doing kind of sporadically before COVID. And so we decided to bring it back, and we've done it twice now. It's been really popular, and it's like a slightly more mellow story time. Like, maybe our songs aren't going to be as crazy. And that's been really fun because the staff who leads story time also like dresses up in pajamas, and I have these weird like house shoes under my desk in the basement that are unicorns. So she'll like wear my unicorn house shoes. The creative story time, we just did one, just to see how it would go. And it was wildly successful. It was kind of the brainchild of our normal events lead and another one of our staff who is immensely creative, and they had worked at kind of like a day camp doing crafts. So they were like, what would it look like to do this? So we were like, let's give it a shot. And we bought some supplies and read Twinkle, which is about a little fairy, and then made fairy wands. And it was free for people to come in. There were a lot of parents making wands as well, not just little kids. I'm pretty sure all the staff working also made wands. I specifically went up on the floor to also make a wand, even though I wasn't working on the floor that day, because it was just fun and a way to get people in the store. And like, the kids were very focused. I've never seen such focus involving like sequins and glue and ribbons. Like, they were really
wand making is a serious business.
Oh yeah, it was really serious. And they were super excited. So we're hoping to do stuff like that in the future. We just have to kind of think about like what days to do it. It is a lot of like setup and a lot of sequins. So doing it on a day where we are super busy with foot traffic doesn't really work to like set up tables and that sort of thing. But we definitely want to do more of that in the future.
Your store sounds so special. I want to experience all of these things. When you said it's really for anyone who wants to be read to, I'm like, me, can I come?
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
yeah. It's
Can we make a wand and hold a cat, please?
Yes. I wish it was closer to me, or I would show you my wand right now, because I'm very, very proud of it. I went with like a single color scheme, and I think it turned out really well. So, yeah, like, I don't know, all of our staff were really just kind of kids at heart. And, obviously we are running a business and we have to think about that sort of stuff, but who doesn't want like to talk about really fun books or make a fairy wand or have a fun little dance party? Like these are, I don't know. Honestly, it's just, I'm surprised that this is my job all the time. Like, is this really how it is? And yeah, it's not all like sunshine and roses, but it's a very special place, and I think it's a really unique store, and that's why it's been around for so long, and then that's why it's been so successful. So,
oh, that's amazing. I'm grabbing my unicorn slippers and heading there soon.
Yeah, okay.
Get the sequins ready.
Yes, everyone made fun of me for my unicorn slippers, but now they use them for
the communal slippers.
I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason I have things like this. It's really important.
Well, we have one last serious question for you before some sillier questions. I was wondering if you had any books, can be any age range, but anything that's like top of mind for you right now that you want to recommend to us or our listeners, or anyone out there.
Actually, one of the first things that came to mind, I listened to as a audiobook, and it was fabulous. So I'm going to go with that. We are so fortunate to have a local author who just loves the store. Like she lives close to the store. She loves the store. She brings her family in the store. Her name is Anna Hersh, and she is a dear friend of us, and also one of our cats is obsessed with her. So like a dear friend of our cat, Eartha Kitt, as well. Her most recent book is called Not Quite a Ghost. And it's sort of a middle school take on the Yellow Wallpaper, the classic that was like kind of spooky. So it is a little bit spooky. It's a little bit about like undiagnosed medical issues that people are having to live with and kind of are being brushed off. And the audiobook narration was terrifying. I mean, obviously for middle schoolers, but as someone who really loves reading horror, I was very impressed. And it's certainly, I told staff, like, don't just recommend this to any old middle schooler who wants something kind of spooky. Like it is a little spooky. And she's done a whole bunch of other books, and they're all set in Minnesota, which is very cool. And she's always so happy to come in and like sign things, and is just so like humble and sweet and wonderful. So I will always recommend her books, but especially the audiobook of Not Quite a Ghost was like really good.
The cover is scary too, honestly. I'm looking at it right now, this like shadow cover on the wallpaper. I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah, it is a fantastic cover. And we actually did like an event with her and another local author who oh my God, I'm like so bad at names and things right now. Jacqueline West, there we go. She lives about like an hour and a half from here. So she came in and they were in conversation about the book when it was released, and it was a very cool event. And yeah, I asked her, I was like, so when are you going to write like horror for adults? When is that going to like, can you make that jump? Because you were really good at this.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a huge recommendation.
Well, thank you for the recommendations. We end every episode with a lightning round where we ask some sillier questions.
No.
Yeah, no, you don't. It's not an oh no. They're easy, I assure you.
Okay. I'm not doing great with like memory recall today, so
they're all main questions.
Please be careful.
They all involve proper nouns at the end. No.
Okay.
All right, this is what I've been dying to ask somebody. What's something that you've changed your mind about recently?
Oh.
That was my reaction too, Anna. I saw that she wrote this. I was like, I thought these were supposed to be silly. That's like that's a big question.
Silly question?
You know, it can be a silly thing. Like I thought I hated the flavor of cherry until recently, and now I'm like, you know what? It's all right.
Actually, okay, it's really funny that you say that. For a very long time, I have not liked grapes. I didn't like them. I want to because they seem like a perfect snacking food and they look delicious and I like grape flavored things, but I didn't like grapes. And very recently I've decided that I love grapes.
That's awesome.
I'm glad that you mentioned the cherry, because I was like, oh my gosh, what deep rooted like emotional thing am I about to say on this podcast? But yeah, now I like grapes, and I brought grapes to work the other day and was sharing them with my coworkers. So
Nice.
suddenly I like them. I don't know what happened.
I had a horrible grape experience once where I thought I bought grapes, but I bought cotton candy grapes, which I don't know why those exist.
No, those are bad. I tried those when I was in my era of trying to learn to like grapes. No, those are gross.
They're
I just
the
want
most
them to be
disgusting
cotton
thing I've
candy.
ever. Yeah.
No, yeah. Cotton candy isn't supposed to be wet.
Okay, I can tell from your face that you've never heard of cotton candy grapes.
No, don't.
No.
They're gross.
They are exactly what they sound like. They look like a grape. They taste like cotton candy, and they're disgusting.
Weird.
They mess with your head in a really terrible way. Because I love cotton candy, but I want it to be cotton candy.
Yes.
I don't want it to be a juicy grape.
Squishy candy.
Yeah, it's. I thought I would like it, but it's not good. I don't like it at all.
I'm so glad you warned me. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah, don't. I mean, I guess try at your own risk.
This episode brought to you by cotton candy grapes.
Yeah, sorry, cotton candy grapes. But I'm not a fan.
Our next question is, I hear that one of your shop cats likes stroller time, and I want to know what stroller time is.
Oh, well, they both do, actually. So we have 2 cats right now. Booker T just turned 12 in August.
Oh, yay.
Booker T Jones. And our other cat, Eartha Kitt, turned 5 in March, I think. And they are both huge fans of like the little baskets under strollers. So if someone brings a stroller in the store, which is often, and they leave said stroller unattended, sometimes the cats will go in the strollers, which is fine. Most people think it's charming and wonderful. But we have actually had the cats exit the store in strollers.
That was going to be my next question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of them have left. This was before I was here. But I heard, one of them I was here. I heard that Booker left in a stroller, and the family was fortunately just wandering around the neighborhood. We have like a really kind of fun, shoppable neighborhood. And apparently like 20 minutes later, they came back and they said, I think we have your cat.
Oh my God.
In the stroller. So that was kind of interesting. And then Eartha, when he was younger, also left in a stroller, but did not stay in the stroller. So we got a call from another shop down the street that was like, I think we have your cat.
Oh
so
this sounds like a children's book, by the way.
It pretty much is.
Cat leaves, like it makes an escape in the stroller and goes on an adventure.
I'm going to write that. That's going to be
great.
You
should write it.
You should. That is my favorite fun fact ever. So before we started recording, my final question for you, we talked about how you used to work with exotic animals, and I saw in your bio that you have, and I quote, cared for everything from chimpanzees to anteaters. And this is amazing to me. I would love to know like what your favorite question mark or like most interesting animal to care for was.
I didn't even think you guys would have like bio and social media. This is like very impressive.
We have a whole dossier on you, actually.
I mean, you might have to send that over to me and I can just use it as my resume, like way on down the road. Probably my most favorite to work with was orangutans. I absolutely adore them. They are very, very smart, very big. They don't look as big when you like visit a zoo and they're kind of way over there. They are huge, but just so full of personality and so brilliant and interactive. And obviously just with any exotic animal, they are exotics. They are not pets. Please, nobody go try to get a pet primate. But yeah, I when I was a kid, I always kind of wanted to work with animals and kind of thought I would be a vet, and then realized that I don't like needles. So that didn't work. And then kind of found out like, yeah, zoos and sanctuaries need people to like just be there and clean and take care of the animals. So I have worked at a couple of sanctuaries, mostly with primates. And then I did some internships with large cats and bears, and the anteaters was an internship that was they're very strange animals. So that was really interesting. Not very exciting, just interesting. But yeah, orangutans are probably my favorites. And I worked very closely with chimps for a while. And same thing, all primates are just brilliant. They're so shockingly intelligent. So you can probably believe that I stock a lot of books about like primates and Jane Goodall and like that kind of stuff because I love talking about it. Yeah, I would say all the primates in general were very, very interesting to work with. But the orangutans I really like them a lot. They're really fun. And chimps are very dramatic and emotional, and orangutans are a little more mellow. So I think that's why I like them better.
Sounds like a perfect bookstore shop pet.
No, oh my God, I can't even imagine. No, absolutely not. We have enough cleaning to do. No exotic animals as pets is too much. I never would have thought that this would come up on this podcast about book stuff, that I'd be talking about my primate stuff, but I didn't know we were going to have a fun question round. So this is great.
You're so cool, Anna. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
I also am going to put that on my resume later. That everyone said I was so cool.
Definitely. Please do. You can quote me.
Okay, wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It sounds like you have so much going on at the store. So I'm glad you could find some time to sit with us today.
Oh, happy to do it. This was super fun and not nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Good.
Well, thank you for listening to both those interviews. We hope you enjoyed them. As we end every episode, Karen, what are you listening to?
Oh my gosh, I have just completed 2 excellent books that I would like to tell you about.
Go on.
Okay, so the first one that I read, I think I've mentioned to you in passing. This is a Blake Crouch book that, from what I've seen, I think this actually came out a while ago, but is being re-released shortly. It is called Run, and boy, did it give me some nightmares. The premise of this book is that suddenly in the United States, a large percentage of the population just becomes murderous and starts going after
Oh, no.
the others, essentially. And no one really knows why. But we're in a very apocalyptic sort of survival situation. The story focuses on one family, a husband and wife, and their 2 kids that are trying to get to safety of any sort, and all of the things that happen to them along the way. It is very fast paced. Trigger warnings. It is violent. It is very scary, but very, very page turnery. And so the reviews are interesting. Like, some people, not their cup of tea. Other people love this book. I think it's a little polarizing.
Where do you fall on that spectrum? I assume since you're recommending it, you liked it, but
I really enjoyed it until flash forward a week later, and I had the most horrible nightmare I've ever had in my life. But I mean, that's a sign of an impactful read, I suppose.
Yes.
So the other one I wanted to mention, so I randomly came across this one at the library. This is a mystery series called the Detective Colleen Hayes series by Max Tomlinson. And something I love, they are set in San Francisco in the 70s. So the first one is called Vanishing in the Hate, and it's about a kind of independent private investigator named Colleen Hayes, who is brought into a cold case to try to solve it. And I super enjoyed it. I have already
any nightmares?
None so far. Not a one.
So far.
Give it a week and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But I've already requested the second one from the library. I think there are 5 or 6 in the series, and so I'm just going down the detective alley now. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to read both those books.
Okay.
Especially the first one.
Let me know how it goes for you.
It's spooky season. I need a little nightmare action.
That'll definitely do it.
Perfect.
What have you been reading and enjoying?
Oh, this is where I become the biggest nerd on the podcast, which is saying a lot. So about I don't know, maybe a little bit more than a month ago, I was on the TikTok and had a random chess TikTok come up in my feed. I've never played chess. I'm not into chess. I don't know anything about chess. For whatever reason, it popped into my feed. And now I am obsessed with chess. I don't know what happened. I bought a set. I play online. I've watched documentaries. And now I am reading a book.
I
So
am so here for this. Tell us everything.
So I am far down the chess rabbit hole. I am reading Endgame by Frank Brady, which is the Bobby Fischer's remarkable rise and fall from American's brightest prodigy to the edge of madness.
Ooh.
And it's exactly that. It starts when he's young and how he grew up and how he got into chess and how he became basically a massive prodigy, which at the time in America was like not really a thing. Like
Yeah.
America was not like a chess powerhouse at the time. So for Bobby Fischer to come out and just destroy was a very big deal.
Wow.
And then it goes into how he gets older and he like goes into paranoia and like mental illness struggles. And there's a lot of like political stuff going on in terms of like, the Soviet Union and like America. Like people were seeing this as like the US versus the Soviet Union in these chess games. And so it's very, as someone very into politics who's recently into chess, this is a very, very interesting read.
That sounds fantastic. Are you going to watch The Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
Already seen it.
Okay, great.
Before my chess fascination, just fascinated with that show was amazing. It was so good. But yes, I recommend the Magnus Carlsen documentary too.
I've seen that.
You saw that? That's interesting.
Yep.
I didn't know you were into chess. Tell me everything.
I feel like I'm about to be now.
Yeah. That guy is so interesting.
I know, that documentary was fantastic.
Very good.
Well, folks, if anyone wants to take if anyone wants to take
if anyone wants to play chess with us.
If anyone wants to take Craig on in chess, please reach out to podcast@Libro.fm and he'll be delighted to play with you.
Find me on chess.com.
All right. So lots of recommendations to check out between the folks we talked to today and the random things Craig and I are reading. If you have time and you would like to rate and review or subscribe to the podcast, we would really appreciate it. And just a reminder, if you haven't signed up for a Libro.fm membership yet, you can use the promo code SWITCH and you will get 3 audiobooks for your first month instead of just 1.
And as always, thank you for listening.